Welcome to episode 103 of Little Big Knits. My name is Selma. I'm also known as Selma Knits on Instagram and Ravelry, and I am coming to you from a sunny late September Ottawa. It's absolutely gorgeous. We've had a beautiful, beautiful September. I even swam on September 22nd, which is probably the latest I have ever swum in a lake here or a river. So it's been a very warm month. It's starting to cool down just a little bit, and it really has made me start thinking about fall knitting. So today I'm going to be here to share with you a little bit about my finished object that I'm wearing today that you've seen before if you've been around, but I also will be sharing about some fall inspiration. I've been thinking, what am I going to be knitting? What am I going to be knitting? I've been looking through my favorites, and so I decided to curate a list of what I think are some interesting new knits from 2024 that would be great fall knits as well. So I'll be sharing that with you a little bit later on, as well as my imminent plans for the upcoming 2 months, what I will be knitting on, what I will be casting on rather. I won't be talking about whips today. I won't be talking about works in progress. I'll just be talking about this finished object and then looking at some wonderful options for fall this year in garment making. All right, let's go. So I am wearing my finished Mariposa cardigan. I am very, very happy with this knit, and I thought I would go ahead and tell you a little bit more about it, the mods that I made, and what I liked and did not like about the pattern and the yarns. So here we go. This is the Mariposa. It first appeared in Making Magazine, the 7th edition, which was the Desert edition. And this is a design by Helga Isager, who is a Danish designer. This pattern can now be bought individually on Ravelry. I think it was about $8.50 US when I saw it, so about 10 something Canadian, and I have no idea what that is in euros or other currencies around the world. And there are only 4 sizes, so it goes from 49-inch size to 58. I made the 2nd size for this particular pattern. I didn't want too much ease. I think I got just actually the right amount of ease. This is meant to be knit with 2 strands of yarn, and it's actually important to knit it with the 2 strands of yarn because you separate them when you are casting on for these lovely petal details. So it's meant to be knit, I don't remember exactly what it is supposed to be knit in, but I knit it in Tun Line by Sadness Garn, which is a cotton viscose linen blend, and Isager Mohair, I believe, or was it Bichet Bush? Oh my goodness. I find those two incredibly similar, the Bichet Bush and the Isager Mohair, that I often get confused, and the packaging is also very similar. So excuse me, my voice is a bit funny. So those are the 2 strands that I used. So let's talk first a little bit about the construction of this sweater or this cardigan. It's got a 22 stitch gauge holding those 2 yarns together. It's knit with 3.5 millimeter needles, and I believe I got gauge with 3.5 millimeter needles. It is knit from the bottom up all in one piece until you get here, and then you separate for the left front and then the right front, and you finish with the back before grafting here. Then you cast on, you pick up stitches for the sleeves until you have gotten the required length, and I actually knit to the length said in the cardigan, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then the band is knit along, and then when you get to here, you knit it while attaching it onto the back until you get to the middle, and you finish with a 3 needle bind off. So a pretty standard drop shoulder cardigan construction for a bottom up cardigan, pretty standard. So this cardigan is fairly well written. There are details missing. I absolutely loved the pattern stitch. Like this pattern stitch, which I believe is called a bell pattern stitch in there, is just absolutely gorgeous. It actually makes me think, I keep thinking that it should make sounds because it makes me think of those, if you've ever seen Native American or Indigenous wear, they often wear these metal cone-like things on their traditional wear, traditional outfits, and when they go to powwows or to dances and there's drumming and they're dancing, you hear them moving, and it's just such a beautiful sound. And when I looked at myself in the cardigan in the mirror the other day, I thought, gosh, it's reminding me of that so much. Quiet. It's not making any sounds, but yeah, it's quite a dramatic look. It's absolutely beautiful. Loved the stitch pattern on here. It's not nearly as difficult as it looks. It's got an ingenious way to start each pattern and each pattern repeat. And as I said, you do need the 2 yarns because they're separated during that time. And it just makes it so easy to cast them on. Really love that. I love my final outfit, or my final cardigan. I think it fits really nicely. It's drop shoulder, but it does not fall off my shoulders at all. I've been wearing it and I find it incredibly comfortable to wear. It's not the best written pattern, I have to say. There are details missing here and there that I wish were there. Like sometimes I'm like, I wish there was a stitch count right now, and there isn't one. I did feel that, you know, because I've got experience, I could kind of make my way through it. I would knit it again. I love the final object, but it was missing some details. So if you were to knit this, you need to be able to fill in the blanks a little bit, and here and there, not big blanks, but little blanks. And I did make a final mistake. Last time I told you that when I finished the left front and I started the right front, I realized that my stitch counts were completely off because I actually had 1 repeat difference. So I had to rip back, rip down 1 extra repeat on the body, knit again, make sure that I had the right number, and then I went back. But I still made a mistake somewhere, and it's a minor mistake, but you will notice that these ribbings do not align here. I can't say this bugs me. I decided by the time I realized that it really, really didn't matter to me. That is something that could definitely bug someone, but it is essentially that somehow I did not end up with 3 extra stitches here, whereas I did on the back, which is what you're supposed to do. But I honestly don't think it's something that people are going to notice, and it really, really doesn't bother me. So I was like, I'm fine with that. So I would say there are some gaps in the pattern writing, just minor ones, and also I'm just not very good at following patterns. I kind of do my own thing a lot of the time, and in this case I wasn't paying enough attention to that detail. Other times it works really well for me, and so I just keep on doing it. I'm just not the most detail-oriented person, I would say. Yeah. Mods, there's supposed to be a button on this cardigan, and I have actually bought a button, and I made the buttonhole, but I have not put the button on, and I'm not 100% convinced that I will, because I don't think I will ever wear it closed, and I just don't think that it's going to add a whole lot. But just so you know, I added the buttonhole 1 repeat higher. They want you to put it here, and I put it here. It almost would have been nice to have it even up here, but honestly, as I said, I don't think I'm ever going to use it because this is really not meant to be that warm woolly cardigan that I wear to keep myself cozy. It's more of a layering piece. It makes an outfit, and so that's that. I knit the length required. I might have made this, I think I ended up making this pretty much what they called for. I had the right number of repeats. I cast on the number of stitches. That was a detail that was missing because you have a slip stitch at the edge here. And if you were to pick up in every slip stitch, you could never end up with the number of stitches required for the sleeves. So you essentially have to pick up 2 in each slip stitch. So I would go in the front of the stitch and in the back of the stitch. And I don't think that, you know, it doesn't really have an impact on the final look. But somehow doing that, I ended up with the right number of stitches. And I knit to the length called for in the pattern, but the pattern has you do decreases here in the last row every second repeat, and I found that that made a rather wide sleeve, so I ended up doing it a center double decrease to create the rib section here and to decrease from 3 rib stitches in this pattern to 1, so that I ended up with a more sort of closer fitting cuff for the cardigan. And I think that's about it as far as the mods go. Yeah, I was looking at my notes to make sure. So yeah, absolutely enjoyed making this and really enjoy the yarn combination. Somehow the Tunline, which is the cotton viscose linen blend with the mohair, creates such a lovely fabric that's not too warm, because this is mostly cotton, linen, and viscose. And then you've got the mohair silk to go with it. But it's very lush feeling. It feels incredibly lush. It's the same yarn combination that I used for my last ranunculus that I shared with you. So I really like it, and I can see myself knitting more items with that combination. I'll put in some footage here so that you can see it being worn with this top, but also another peach color top, both with my jean skirt that I'm wearing today as well. But I also put it on over my black dress that with a necklace that I actually really like as well. So I'm looking forward to trying this with different combinations. I do think that it requires something a little bit more open in the front. And I don't have many t-shirts like that. But so far I think I've got maybe 3 or 4 t-shirts, and then I've got the dress. And I haven't tried it on with other things in my wardrobe yet, but I'm sure I'll find ways to wear this cardigan because I already have, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's the Mariposa Cardigan by Helga Isager, and it felt like a little bit of an epic make, only because I had to re-knit, but these were so fun to make that it didn't feel as epic as it looks, but I really wanted a statement cardigan, and I feel like I got it, and it's just beautiful. All right. That's it for what I've been making for this time around. I'll show you my works in progress and my finished objects next time. Let's start talking about fall inspiration. It's interesting because September was so warm, it took me a while to really get into thinking about what I want to make for this fall and winter. I was just enjoying wanting to really finish this, and I just really wasn't thinking ahead a whole lot. And so now I have been, and I wanted to share that with you. Just before, I just wanted to show you this mug that I got from my friend Lauren in New Mexico, and I hadn't been able to show this to you last time because I didn't have it with me. This is from Southwest Sunflower Pottery, and Lauren had already given me a mug from them, but I love the Zia symbol from New Mexico. It's just beautiful, and she had given me this mug. So today I am drinking my lovely tea from it, which happens to be Vahdam, India's original chai tea, which I buy on Amazon. I don't know, I'm sure you could probably buy directly from their website, and I really like their teas a lot. So that's what I'm drinking today. All right, let's start. I have 5 sweaters, I think 6 cardigans and 5 vests to share with you today. We're just going to focus on garments. That tends to be my focus a lot of the time. And we're going to start with sweaters. And the first one I want to share with you is a sweater that just came out by Aegyo Knit, and it is called the Seoul Blouse. Seoul as in the capital of South Korea, and that is because the designer is married to a Korean person. So some of her patterns are named after Korea in some way. This is an absolutely beautiful colorwork sweater. It's got colorwork repeats, it's drop shoulder, and it looks just light and airy. Even though it's colorwork, it looks like it could be a summer sweater or just a nice light fall layering piece. And like my cardigan, it is made out of a linen silk blend held with mohair, and both of those are by Gepard Garn. And the I think it's Gepard Garn Hersede. I don't actually remember what it was called, and I think it's a DK weight yarn. So you've got a DK weight yarn held with a mohair, but it has a 20 stitch gauge. There are only 4 sizes, so not the most size inclusive, but it is meant to be somewhat oversized. So the sizes range between 47 and 56 inches. So there are nothing smaller. This is something where you could probably play around with the gauge a little bit to create smaller or larger sizes. With a tighter gauge, you'd end up with a smaller sweater, and with a looser gauge, you'd end up with a larger sweater. But I just find this one to be just very, very attractive, so I wanted to include that. The next one I wanted to share with you is also one that came out recently by HundredAcreWool, and this is Birthday 61. And it is just a fabulous fingering weight sweater that has, I think it's a half fisherman's rib. It's knit in 2mm needles. So this one is a commitment, that's for sure. Although I think I may be here for it. Now it is a 25 stitch gauge, so I do wonder if one could go up a needle size or 2, because 2mm is, I don't even know what that is in US. Is it a US 1? It's small. But it's just a beautiful, simple raglan kind of construction. HundredAcreWool's patterns are always extremely well written. And in this particular one, there are 9 sizes ranging from 37 inches to 64 inches. And it's just beautiful. And you know, just a lovely, solid, it's gorgeous in the gray. It could be nice in a lighter gray or a heathered oatmeal or a blue or a red. I mean, I just feel like this is a really, really beautiful sweater. And although it is a commitment, I think it would be a lovely, lovely sweater to wear. The next one that I wanted to mention is a new design. It came out, I believe, this summer by Caitlin Hunter, and that is the Stromboli. And I just love the combination here of the different stitch patterns between the cable and I believe that's lace, and it's also a drop shoulder, and it just looks like it fits beautifully. It's got 6 sizes ranging from 44 to 73 inches. It's knit with fingering weight yarn, but it is a 22 stitch gauge, and that would be thanks to the lace. And I think it's absolutely lovely. She came out with 2 sweaters this summer. This is the one that spoke to me the most. I think it came out in August. I think this would be a lovely, you know, not too warm piece for the fall. You could lengthen the sleeves to make it longer if you like, or keep them at the length that they are right now in the pattern. But it's just a lovely, lovely combination of stitches, and it just looks like it fits beautifully. The next sweater is by Claudia Quintanilla, and this is the Betty sweater. This one is knit with 2 strands of mohair. The stitch gauge is 25 stitches, and I do wonder if Claudia might be a little bit of a tight knitter, because I don't know that I would get 25 stitches with 2 strands of mohair, but it would create a dense fabric, which would make it less or more opaque. This is just a classic, beautiful, sort of almost 1940s inspired blouse. So unlike the other ones that are more relaxed and easygoing, this one could be a beautiful piece for an occasion, right? It could be a Friday night piece, but it could also be an office piece or, you know, a cocktail hour piece. It's just really, really lovely. I have been contemplating how and what I might use to make this one. I have the door open here, so there might be some outdoor noises. The next one, and the last of the sweaters, is the Drevo. by Teti Lutzak. I bought this pattern the moment it came out, and I am hoping to make this pattern this fall. This is one of my intended cast-ons for the fall. It is knit with DK at a 22 stitch gauge, so very standard DK gauge. There are 9 sizes ranging from 32 to 64 stitches. I was watching her as she made this sweater, and I just fell in love with it right away. And the black dress that I was wearing earlier when I was modeling this cardigan, I think it would just be beautiful, beautiful for that dress. So it's on my plans, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later. I have a short list of plans for this fall. It's just a beautiful, very interesting construction because it's constructed kind of like a top-down raglan, but everything is shifted. And then there's, you know, a bit of a side construction happening and a coming down construction happening. So this is an interesting knit. I think it will be a knit where you have to trust the designer. And Teti's designs are so, so beautiful. I have not yet knit anything by her and have really been wanting to. So I'm excited to cast this one on. And I'll show you what I'm going to cast it on with a little later. All right. Let's look at cardigans. I've got 5 for you today. The first one that I find really inspiring is the Siri Cardigan Solo by Lena Holmes-Samso. This is this really lovely, sort of cozy looking cardigan with textured stitches mixed with cables. There are 10 sizes. Ranging from 39 inches to 62 inches around, and the gauge is 15 stitches, and it's really a sort of DK plus lace weight mohair kind of combination. But really you could knit this with a worsted as well, or something fluffy like the Camerose Snefug or the Drops Air, for example. It's just looks cozy and really lovely, and sort of a lovely raglan construction. I believe it's top down and it's just beautiful. The next one that I wanted to mention is kind of interesting, a little bit of a statement piece as well, combining crochet and knitting. This is the Evina cardigan by Heidi Pettersen, or Heidi Pettersen. I'm supposing she's Danish. And this is also a DK and mohair combination, but at a 17 stitch gauge, so a little bit of a tighter gauge than the previous one. This one has 5 sizes ranging from 94 centimeters to 146 centimeters. I'll put the inches down here. I love everything about this cardigan. It just looks so interesting, and it's that thing that we're seeing these days where there's a combination of crochet with knitting to create a garment. I've seen a lot of granny square type things where you're using different colors, whereas this one is monochrome, or what's the word? Well, anyway, you're using one color. And I just think it looks so gorgeous. And the color that the designer chose is also really beautiful, but it could be stunning in a variety of colors. And so I wanted to give this one a lovely mention. The next one is the Sea Glass cardigan by Woolen Pine. We've seen the Sea Glass sweater by this designer, and they've now come out with a cardigan. This is a DK weight cardigan, which I have to say presents me with a slight conundrum because I don't have a lot of DK leftovers, but it just looks absolutely fabulous. You could possibly use 2 light fingerings together to create the DK. It's a 20 stitch gauge, and it is this sort of slip stitch pattern with multiple colors. So it just creates this beautiful, beautiful texture. And then it's finished off with some solid color details around it. It comes in 10 sizes from 32 inches to 68 inches. And I think it would be a great way to use leftovers. It could also be a great way to curate and take some DK skeins from your stash to put together to create this. And it's just really beautiful. It looks cozy, it looks fun. The original design is with these lovely green kind of look to it, but you could do it in so many different ways. You could make it completely scrappy, but it could also be curated and a little bit more, controlled in terms of how and what colors you're using. But really, really, really love that. The next one is also a little bit of a statement piece. It is the Nexus, designed by Natasha Hornby. Natasha Hornby is a fabulous designer. I'm sure you have seen her designs before. I have mentioned them before. Another designer whose work I have enjoyed looking at, but I have not actually made any of her designs yet. This cardigan is using multiple methods, and there's some mosaic in there. I believe there's a Latvian braid. I think it's modular in its construction, so not particularly beginner friendly, but I think a really, really interesting project. And such an interesting, she's used quite bold colors, but you could use something a little softer. One could go earthy with this one as well. It's really, really nice. And so I wanted to mention that for the adventurous people out there. The next one is a new design by Andrea Mowry called Hey Sailor. This is a short sleeve cardigan. So this would be best in places where it's not too cold. I mean, once we're getting into October here in Canada, a short sleeve sweater is not going to cut it. But this might work better in a more southern hemisphere place, or you could wear this at another time of the year as well. But I just think this is absolutely lovely, and the buttons can go on the back or they can go on the front. I've seen some versions where people are wearing it open like a cardigan. It looks lovely. And this is also a top-down construction, I believe, and it is using mosaic knitting, which is really, really seeing a big, perhaps comeback. I mean, mosaic has always been around. I've got some old Vogue knitting magazines that had mosaic in them, and I remember my mother making a mosaic sweater decades ago. So it certainly is a technique that has been around, and it's very popular right now. And it's a really fun technique because it is color work, but you're only ever knitting with one color at the same time. And so there's a little bit less yarn management that has to happen. And I find it easier to manage the tension as well. The tension can be something that, for me anyway, is more problematic in true color work. Whereas when it comes to mosaic, I find it a lot easier to manage the tension. So I've made a few things out of mosaic, and I really, really enjoy it a lot. And I think that the stitch that she's used here is just really elegant and lovely. So the Sailor cardigan is actually made out of a Knitting for Olive cotton merino. So it is a nice lightweight cardigan, and it is a 31 stitch. That is crazy. I did not put down the size range for this one, but I would imagine that Andrea Mowry's size range is usually quite inclusive. And I have to wonder about that stitch gauge. 31 stitches, interesting. I almost feel like I want to try this and see if I can get the gauge, but it looks beautiful. The last cardigan is by a Finnish designer called Suvi Lyytikainen, and this is the Runioiset cardigan. This is kind of I find this one's like a classic yoke cardigan with just a lovely, interesting stitch detail around the yoke, and then it's knit in garter. It is a bulky weight. You could use something, I think she uses something like the Camerose Sneffog at a 15 stitch gauge. So it'd be very fast. And there are 9 sizes ranging from 79 centimeters to 150 centimeters. And I just love that one. It just looks cozy and lovely. Love it. All right, let's finish off with some vests. I have 5 vests for you, I believe, here. The first one is actually a free pattern. It is published on the Hobby website. It's called the Barleyfield Slipover by Jojo Knitwear. It's a worsted weight plus lace weight combination for 15 stitches. And it looks like there are 6 sizes, but I don't know what the range is. I didn't actually click on the website and look through that. But I just really like the stitch on that, and it could be quite lovely. The next one is the burdock tank. Now, it could be used as a tank, but it could also be used as a vest. And I was drawn to this one immediately, and I thought maybe I'll buy yarn at Rhinebeck for this. This is a design by Florence Sperling, and it just looks like a sort of like cozy, earthy vest that I would like to have in the fall. It comes in 10 sizes. It is 31 to 67 stitches, and it's made out of DK. It's a colorwork vest, but like the sole blouse that I showed you at the beginning, it is simple colorwork. And there's a bit of striping and a little bit of color work in there to create the effect. And I really like the original colors, the gray and the yellow, I have to say. But maybe it would be nice, and it would be nice in a lot of different things. But that is one that called me. The next one also called me for the simplicity of its shape. This is the All Season Vest by Noriko Ichikawa. And there are 10 sizes, ranging between 37 and 66 stitches. It is made out of a sort of lofty worsted weight yarn, the Woolfolk Straw, which is a wool linen. I think it's 50-50. So also a nice light thing. You could easily put a DK with a worsted for that, or just a DK. It is 21 stitch gauge. And I just love the simple lines. There are a lot of simple vests out there. And so when I look at the simple vests, for me, it's really about the lines. And I really like the lines in this one. I find it has a nice, simple, sort of lovely everyday fit. The next one is another design by Aegyo Knit that came out. She actually came out with a cape of this first, and now she came out with the top. This is the Umma top, and I think she had the Umma cape, which was essentially really oversized and long. This has 6 sizes between 68 centimeters and 150 centimeters. It's a 22 stitch gauge in garter, and it's made out of sport with lace. And I just really love this, and I thought this could be a really nice vest as well. And maybe rather than a blouse underneath it, you're wearing a long sleeve. She's got it as kind of a top on its own as well. But I just love the detail. I think it could be quite lovely. Really, really like this one a lot. And I thought something like that in a beautiful alpaca, for example, or a Surrey, or something that's just draws you to the texture of the yarn, I think would be really beautiful. The last vest that I want to share with you is a new one by Anne Hansen. Anne Hansen has been designing for years. She was one of the first designers that I started following on Ravelry, like in 2009, a good 15 years ago. And this is one of her latest designs called the Summer Shine Top. So again, this is sort of one of those things where it could be a top or it could be a vest. I think she has pictures of someone wearing it like a vest. And it just has a beautiful, beautiful detail on the front, which also goes down the back. She's got it in a clean white color, but it could be lovely in a variety of colors. And she's also the person behind Bare Naked Wools. And so this is being knit in one of her yarns, which is a fingering with 22 stitch gauge. So it must be quite a lofty fingering weight. And there are 12 sizes from 29 inches to 64 inches. So there you go, a whole bunch of eye candy for us today. Gosh, I just love looking at patterns, and I tend to favorite them a lot. I favorite a lot of patterns and tag them, and then I tend to shop through my own favorites. I'll be creating a bundle today for all of these patterns, so you can click on the bundle below and it'll take you to Ravelry so that you can see the different patterns if you like. And yeah, so what am I knitting next? I already mentioned the Drevo, and I realized I was going to show you the yarn, but I forgot it. So I'll put the yarn up here. It is the Wood Song yarn in the Fin wool that my friend Meka of Skeins of Dreams had given to me 2 years ago, I think. And when I saw the Drevo by Teti Lutzak, I thought, I am making that, and I'm using Meka's yarn. So I'm really excited to be doing that. Very, very excited to make this sweater because I really want sort of cropped sweaters to go with my black dress. I wear that in the summer, but I could easily wear it in the winter. It's a thick cotton with some tights and boots, for example. So I'm looking forward to making the Drevo this fall. The other pattern that I'm looking forward to, another designer who I didn't end up actually mentioning today, I'm surprised, but I think she's come out with more summery sweaters. But the one I'd like to knit is the Ranne. I think it's called Ranne or Rani by Irene Lynn. And this is an all-over textured vest, which includes a cable with lace. And I'm going to be using this beautiful Lang Yarns yak that I got from Smita from Your Next Knit. So this is definitely going to be one of my next cast-ons. I'm very much excited to work with this yarn. It's like butter in your hands. It's amazingly beautiful to touch. And I'm looking forward to making one of Irene Lynn's patterns. And then the other thing that's coming up for me is a test knit. I applied and was accepted to do a test knit for Isabella Clark. We're going to be making this beautiful vest, which is knit sideways in mosaic knitting with 2 colors. Her version is very earthy. I have to really start thinking carefully about what colors I want to use for this. And I would prefer to find something in my stash. So I have to really think. My first inkling was to do it in shades of gray. Let's see what I find in my stash for this. But I'm excited to be doing this. This is going to be another one that is a very interesting construction and an interesting pattern, sort of a mosaic herringbone pattern. And Isabella Clark has some lovely patterns out, and I'm excited to be test knitting for her. So those are the 3 things that I'm committing to this fall. All 3 of them are quite involved patterns, so I'm thinking that I'm going to need something simple in there as well. So we'll see what ends up getting cast on. But for now, those are my plans. And that is all the content for today. I'm going to be leaving you today with footage from a recent walk I took to a place called Mud Lake here in Ottawa. It's actually very close to here. And it's a place that we've gone to many times. If you've been around for a while, you will have seen footage from there before. It's a conservation area and people go there for bird watching a lot. And so dogs are not allowed. So we'll never take a little dipper there. But I did have a lovely walk there one evening, and there were wild turkeys galore. There were some beautiful chickadees, which you'll see, and it was evening and there wasn't as much wildlife as there has been. I didn't see any turtles. In the past, I've seen tons of turtles. In the past, I have seen the muskrat, but she wasn't around this time. But I'm going to leave you with footage from that lovely walk, and I'll see you next time. Now, am I going to see you before I go to Rhinebeck? Not 100% sure. If I do, I'll share with you what I'll be wearing at Rhinebeck. And if not, I'll share what I wore to Rhinebeck and footage from that, as well as all the goodness after I get back. So let's see when I'm able to podcast next, before or after. Take care, my friends, and I hope your knitting, your making is treating you well, and we'll see you next time.